to the September 30th edition of the Katherine Symthe Show radio version, produced by the House of Savoy, operated and facilitated by Katherine Symthe. I am your host, Katherine Symthe. House of Savoy is currently playing with the demographics of our market, and today and this week we decided to release the show earlier than Friday. Thank you for your patience, and to all of our supporters out there that have been supporting the House of Savoy and Katherine Symthe. We are honored to have you as our listeners and as our supporters. House of Savoy has been doing some changes and some growing and evolving, and you'll be seeing some things. Check out our website at www.facebook.com/House of Savoy. That is our fan page, and you can keep up to date to what we are doing, growing, and evolving. House of Savoy wishes to make a disclaimer that Katherine Symthe, which is me, I am not a psychologist. I am trained as a life coach in the specialty field of helping people learn about their authentic selves and further align who you are to your calling in life. I am a facilitator. None of our self-empowerment shows, past, present, or future, are ever geared to any one person. I take my life experiences, known as life rewards, and incorporate them into my training to send a message of connection to you, because you are not alone. Now, if a particular message of a particular show resonates with you, then that is your story taking ownership of a particular message. Today's episode is Communication Awareness to Yourself, which examines, dissects, decompiles the conditioning of how we speak to ourselves, and then I will provide tools of awareness and new programming for you to understand the static condition of expectation and perception, and how it does a pattern interrupt at our core, the emotions. This particular episode is a sample offering of the Authentic Soul Awakenings course that I will be doing as pay-per-view events on Spreecast. Pay attention to when these workshops will be occurring at www.facebook.com/House of Savoy. I ask you, what seeds are you planting in your communication to yourself? What fertilizer are you utilizing to create a self-fulfilling prophecy? How is this communication impacting your environment and relationships? As I said, this episode is a short version of the Authentic Soul Awakenings course that has been designed and copyrighted by your host, Katherine Symthe, as the Authentic Core Integration Specialist on the pay-per-view events on Spreecast. And we are offering this free mini workshop right here on the Katherine Symthe Show. To learn more about these workshops, you know where to go. Ask yourself, when you are communicating, are you communicating authentically, or are you communicating reactively? When you look in the mirror and you see yourself, what does your inner voice say? That type of communication is your transmitter, which sends, receives, and creates a feedback loop known as interpersonal communication. Say that 3 times in a row. It stands to reason that how you talk to yourself is also how you relay your communication to others. What? Now remind you, the Authentic Soul Awakenings course is designed to really get to the meat of the bones, to look at the core work that we all do every day, but takes it a step further. I ask you, when you look in the mirror, what are you saying to yourself? We'll be right back after these words. Are you looking for spiritual mentorship? Are you looking for a Reiki master? Are you wondering what messages Spirit might have for you in a tarot reading? That's right, our very own Sonia Beatrice of Positive Direction, the Wholeness Center, has that ability to help you. Wondering where they might be? www.positive-direction.com, or call today to make your appointment at 210-601-0369. Sonia Beatrice of the Positive Direction, the Wholeness Center. Welcome back to the Katherine Symthe Show. We have been talking about communication awareness to yourself. When we are born, we're born with a clean slate. We have 3 emotions that come with us that are tools. That is love, forgiving that part of who we are. We have fear, which helps us deal with survival modes. And we have what we call the sexuality emotion that really helps us in reproduction and other things. But literally, we are a map, a clean slate. Now, when teaching paradigms occur and events create an experience, or what I call nautical coordinates, that instructs us how to navigate this map called life. Communicating experience and nautical coordinates is called language. Language, or better known as communication, is truly a representation of our experience. This experience becomes encoded within us, our map, known as conditioning and perceptions. Each word of that communication, of that experience, has a different meaning or connotation for each person. It's unique, like fingerprints. And literally, each person's life experience assigns to their own nautical coordinates their own meaning to a word. And each meaning is different, just like I said, fingerprints. I love you means to one person a term of endearment, while I love you to another person could have a whole different meaning, meaning broken promises, especially if they were like a child that went through divorce. Family to one person can mean about arguing and fixing things and then being okay and then arguing, while family to another person is constant communication. In the same environment with various people with different assigned meaning of language, you could face static communication. Now, if you've seen those shows on Ghostbusters and ghost hauntings, you have that static electricity, that staticness, and you hear these voices, and that's the EVP. Well, that's what happens with language. You sometimes will get static communication through various life events, and a communication barrier might break down or be misperceived or misconstrued. Then emotions step in and create a flux. That's where somatized embition comes in. That's somatized embition, EMBITION, where feelings are so intense or fighting or frightening that all of a sudden they get jumbled and they create anxiety, and that anxiety creates a self-defense mechanism. Now it's going one step further because the static's increasing, at least on some levels, and a diversion mindset sets in. This is where the mind perceives itself to be in a state of chaotic flux, and the levels of your neurotransmitter of communication becomes a static in the communication. All you hear, and now the relays to your mind and body, they're interconnected and they're getting confused. And then in an attempt to do a system restore, you react. And sometimes the reaction will intensify. And now you got more chaos and you got more confusion. You don't know what's going on. It is in these moments that you need to take a step back and give space so that you can become aware of where the static is and how to create clear channels of communication, not only to yourself, but to the environment. Now, let's break this down even further so that you understand what I'm talking about. We're going to look at the family environment and the self-environment. So now you have a family environment of, say, 4 people, a mama, a papi, and 2 children. Or you can do a mommy and a mommy, or a papi and a papi, but you got, either way, a family dynamic going on. and each one of you communicate differently due to your experience and conditioning. Now, somewhere along the way, the misstep occurs, causing emotions, and now emotions intensify. Now anxiety sets in. Now you got somatized embition, and now you get defense mechanism causing a diversion mindset, and your body reacts further, and you begin reacting instead of communicating with action. And oftentimes in the environment, an emotional overlap occurs. Now, emotional overlap, which I will actually be teaching a course in the Authentic Soul Awareness and the pay-per-view events, and the Authentic Soul Awakenings in the pay-per-view events on Spreecast. But just to give you a brief description of emotional overlap, is when you have a group of people in the same environment, and say emotions of different kinds are acting in the environment, what happens is the emotions begin to seep into each other and picked up. And you can't help it. That is not something you do consciously. It's something that happens. And then what happens is that they begin to interfere with each other, and there's lack of clarity. And this will even happen in the self environment, where it's just you, yourself, and I in that environment, and you're by yourself, and you're getting clouded with emotions, and your mind begins to do these things. The mind is an amazing thing. Now, since I did say self-environment, let's look at that. It's just you, yourself, and I in an environment. And your condition and your experiences are talking to yourself, and you got these different things going on with yourself. Now, all of a sudden, you start getting confused, and you're going into a state of confusion, and you have static communication. And then you begin to go deeper into your language to yourself, and you begin to create stories within that staticness. Now, stories that you create is called reactive mindset. Now, it's not saying that you're making up stories, but what happens is that when you get stressed, your body and your mind creates a story as to why is happening that chaos. It's a preconceived idea. It's actually a defense mechanism of the mind. And it's an amazing thing what the mind can do. And this can also happen in the family environment. Now, I will be teaching this paradigm again in the Authentic Soul Awareness. But the key is communication. What seeds are you feeding yourself? Because what happens is, if you begin to have negative thoughts or what is perceived as negative thoughts, such as I'm bad, I'm not valuable, I'm not loved, I'm a waste of space, then what becomes happening is, danger, Will Robinson, danger, Will Robinson, I can't see in the clearing, and what to do. Now, House of Savoy does make a disclaimer that in that communication, should you cross over into the threshold of adaptation capacity, where your mind becomes so cluttered that you go into sadness, and then you start thinking ideology of suicide, there are resources out there. You are not alone. Please contact those resources. Get a counselor. Speak to somebody. Speak to your family or to your friends. But the whole point about communication is understanding how that communication that you start with yourself also begins to interact to each other, because we send out those communication through our body movements, through our emotions, and through our voice. We'll learn more when we come back right after this. Are you a survivor of rape or a trauma that has really affected your life? Are you a family member of a victim or a survivor? There is hope. You are not alone. The Rape Crisis Center of San Antonio is an amazing place that offers amazing resources and counseling. The 24-hour hotline is 210-349-7273, located at 7500 U.S. Highway 90 in San Antonio, Texas, 78227. You are not alone. The Rape Crisis Center has a 24-hour hotline with amazing advocates. You are not alone. Welcome back to the Katherine Symthe Show. For those of you that are just joining our show, welcome. We have been discussing communication awareness to the self and how it impacts our life. Language is the representation of our conditioning and experience. There is a different meaning for each person, like fingerprints, and when placed in an environment of family or self, or just any type of environment, emotions arise. There are several keys to helping to get communication awareness to the self. The first key is to ourself. Do we understand? Do we have the knowledge of language and how it makes and impacts us? There's awareness and cognitive understanding of how it works. It's like a car. You do not just get in a car and drive. I remember this one time when I always was the passenger of a motorcycle. When I first got my motorcycle, I told somebody, you know what, I can ride a motorcycle. I've been a passenger. I know how. They're like, okay, take the key. So I took the key and got on the motorcycle and went to go drive. Yeah, I stayed behind and the motorcycle was down the street. Apparently in my revving it up, it decided to go boom all by itself, and I was on the sidewalk. Knowledge is very key to understanding how things work, and when we understand it, it provides a cognitive awareness into who we are. And it's an amazing process. That is what going to our core and finding out what our journey is about. It's really about doing self-work and being willing to go to those depths to dig up the mud and get to the core of who we are. An amazing process happens. The second key is root origination. When you say, let's take mine for example, oh, I'm just a screw up. I'm just using mine as an example because I've said that to myself. I look at the root origination which lied in childhood of what was imprinted onto me. I literally had to decompile my language and put in a new program of new coding that I am valuable. Now, understand that so many people have tried putting in a new program and let's reprogram. You can't reprogram a person. What you have to do is you have to decompile their conditioning. It's sort of like a system restore. When you system restore your computer, that's great. You system restored your computer and you got all the stuff up. But what do you still have left behind? You got the files. You don't know where the virus might have originated. So decompiling and creating new programming allows the person to really understand and really become a new person. And it is possible. It really is. But I do want to give you a disclaimer and a warning that if you start to have association with suicide, please reach out to your family, to your friends, to your counselor. And if you're a trauma victim here in San Antonio, there is the resource of the Rape Crisis Center. The 24-hour hotline is 210-349-7273. But when you're looking at the language to the self, you have to realize what you're saying to yourself. This is communication awareness to yourself. The third key is what new words can you tell yourself that can be clear and concise. You could say, I'm valuable. Okay, how are you valuable? I am valuable in my communication, in my love, and in my connection to my family. I'm a great friend. How? I am a great friend that can be trusted, that is loved in return. I am loved. How? I am loved by my family and by my friends, and I am a loving person that can give love. These are the seeds that we feed ourselves. What new words can you tell yourself now? A few words. We'll be right back, and right after these words. Are you looking for items from a storage place? Are you wondering what new things I can buy for myself? Well, there is a place, that's right, Storage Wars. You're thinking Storage Wars, Texas. Well, these people buy storage units and put them up for sale. They are located at 9006 CN, SEIN Street, San Antonio, Texas. Contact them today and see what stuff you might want that is valuable at 210-531-6734. Welcome back to the Katherine Symthe Show. To really wrap up today's mini-class of self-empowerment discussion, communication to the self, I want you to really understand that this is just a sampling of the authentic soul awareness, but really communication is born from experience and conditioning. They are the nautical coordinates in our life. Emotions get set in, they are assigned to that communication, and now when you interact in the environment, be it by yourself, or with you and a dog, or with you and a cat, or with you and family, you begin to have several different outcomes. And when emotion becomes static, or when communication becomes static because of confusion and fog and whatever, different perceptions will occur, different reactions, different variables. Now, this is what happens when reactive mindset happens. The keys to awareness lies in understanding how language works, a root or origination of the words that you have told yourself, and actions now. What new programming of words are you going to be telling yourself in emotional meaning? Now, one of the things about the Katherine Symthe Show that is very unique to the show is that we present you with ideas and let you stew on it and let you think about it, and you decompile the information. You make the decision of how that might help you or impact your life. Now, Authentic Soul Awakenings is about giving you the tools and really going further and going in depth. It's hardcore. Let's look at the variables, let's go deeper, and let's really arise out of it. Katherine Symthe Show is about providing that and going, hey, guess what? There's a purple dinosaur and it has 4 legs and it's alive in today's time. What are you going to do about it? That's for you to decide. I want to thank everyone here on the Katherine Symthe Show that have continued to be our supporters, from Positive Direction, the Wholeness Center, to the Rape Crisis Center, and to all those out there. And if you're interested in becoming a sponsor of the show, or if you're interested in advertising with the Katherine Symthe Show, or even being a guest, contact Katherine Symthe, the digital executive media producer of House of Savoy, at 210-897-8369, or at www.facebook.com/House of Savoy, or at katherine.symthe@gmail.com. Thank you for all your support. You guys are really great, and namaste.